Hello, I'm Bood and welcome to the next edition in my editor series. In this video, I'm going to show you how I basically make a player, maybe give you some tips, make a staff member, general tips with that, because a lot of it is very similar, and also make some media. Now, in a previous video, my Create Club video, we made a team called Denton Town, and we're going to use them again in this video. We're going to make them their own media, maybe a magazine and a radio station with a couple of journalists. I'm going to make him a chairman and then show you how to make a coach, but then obviously talk you through the similarities when it comes to making physios and so on, and obviously make a player. Hopefully this helps you. If you've not seen any of the others, check the playlist. There's a couple more editors videos out there, and a couple more will be coming out in the future. But thank you for checking this out. Hopefully, if you're not a subscriber, you'll become one. You'll hit that thumbs up as well. You might even become a patron. That really does help me out. But thank you for the support. Thank you for the view. Thank you for checking this out. Let's get into it. So here we are again in the pre-game editor. And like I've said in previous videos, you can find this on Steam. It's free and you can change absolutely anything you want in the world. So we're going to start off straight away by making ourselves a player, or at least talking you through it. So you just got to go down on your list on the left hand side to people, like we've done in the past, creating stadiums and clubs. They're all here. Just look through it. So people there, go over to add. Now, on here first, we'll just quickly talk through this. If I click player, it'll give me the blueprint for a player. A non-player is staff. You can make a player, non-player, so that's a player and a coach or whatever you want. You can make an official. You can make a retired person. Say a legend's not on the game. Say Eric Cantona's not on the game or something. You can make him. Journalist. You can even make agents. So, for example, if you want to make yourself a creative player, you can make an agent. I'll quickly talk through it, hopefully, if I can squeeze it in. Who will look after your player's best interests. Or maybe you want an agent to look after your old squad. You can do anything you want. But right now, we're going to make a player. So if I click on player, now we'll get this blank blueprint here for the player. Now again, make sure you write down that code. That's his unique ID. So if you want to add a face to him, your face, a regen face in the future, you will need the ID to do it. I've done a video on that years ago. I might make an updated version on how to add faces and logos in the future. But just write that down. It is really important. But also remember, if you've got any custom databases from anywhere else, make sure none of them are active, because we all get the same ID codes. We create new players, someone else creates new players, we all get the same codes, so they will clash and won't work. So whenever you do anything custom, make sure you turn anything else that's custom off, or even remove them from the folder, or they will clash. So here we are, first name. Now, again, we're going to be using Denton Town that I built in my Create Club video. So we're going to make a player here. So I'm going to fill this out and then talk you through it. So for the purpose of this, I am making my eldest son Fletcher. I'm going to make him a striker, why not? So I put his first name in, then you put his second name in. The common name is like a nickname. So like Brazilians have really long names, and you might just want to call them Romario, for example. That's where you'd put Romario. It will automatically fill that out for you. He's, of course, a player. He's from Northern Europe, but wherever you want him to be, you can pick right there, dead easy. I'll give him dark brown hair, and you get a massive selection of that. And it picks the colour for you. Hair length, medium, because he's got medium long hair, because the barbers are closed at the minute. I'll give him white skin. That's his date of birth. He's from Denton, and I made Denton on the Creator Club. They're not actually on the database. Denton's in Manchester, but if you want to know how to make your own town, go and check that video out. It will automatically fill them out. So if Denton's in England, it will just pick England for you. I've selected that he was born in a nation. Now, you can also add other nations by going here. We're not going to do that, but you can if you want. You can select a load of things, to be honest. You can give him international retirement if you're making an older player. Now, if you go all the way to the very, very bottom, you'll see agent. And if you click that little tab there, you go to search. If you know an agent already, you can give it him. But if you've already made your agent, you just select him there. So maybe if you're doing your player first and you do your agent second, just remember to go back to your player to select your agent. Now, we're making him around, he's going to be 16, 17, 18, something like that. So I'm not going to give him any international data, but you can if you want. So if you want to make yourself a young player and give him under 21 caps, you just fill out there how many caps you want, how many goals you want. You can do all these details. Like I always say, just make sure you check every single tab. Always be thorough with it. Next, we move on to contracts. And again, if you've already created your club, which hopefully you have, or you want to play for the team you support, say Manchester United, all you've got to do is go to club, select that tab, search, go down to name. Again, just go in the bar, and we're going to have him playing for Denton Town, the team I've already created in another video. Select that. There you are, Denton Town FC. Now he plays for Denton Town FC. And again, this is going to go for everything. If they're a staff member, you just select that and pick what you want them to be. Obviously, he is a player. He hasn't got a secondary job. I'll fill the rest out and come back to you. So I filled out the basics, obviously. I've put in the date he joins. That'll just do that automatically. You can change that if you want. Now, I've given him a contract for around, what is that, 4 years. It's a full-time contract, 25 grand a week. Again, it's totally up to you. I've made him a first team player. You can decide whatever you want right there. Now, squad numbers. If you click down there, you'll see squad number. I've given him number 7 and I've made his preferred number 7. So he'll always want number 7. And then again, this is up to you how you want to tailor it. I'm not going to fill this out, but you can put all your bonuses in here, how much you want them to be on. And then if you go down, you've got all your contract clauses. Again, if you want to add more depth and more detail, some of these are good. Like if I want to put a minimum fee in, if I go there, say, I don't know, 200 million, for example, just put in 200 million. 1, 2, 3, and there we go. As soon as I click off it, it'll switch. £200 million minimum fee release. But again, it's totally up to you how you want to tell your player. It depends on what kind of player you're making, old, young. Everything's here from a contract. You seen it? Just go through it, like I say, tab by tab, and check them. If you want to make them out on loan, you just do that. You just select up here, search for a club you want them to go on loan. Future transfer, if you want to put a player on a future transfer, I don't know why you would, but you could if you want to. Next, we're on to personal data and their attributes, and this is a good one to really go through and think about what kind of player you want. So again, I'm going to fill it out, come back to you. So giving him decent adaptability, that means if he went abroad, it'd settle well. If you've got low adaptability, they won't. I made him ambitious. He's not very controversial. He's a good lad. He's loyal. Not too much pressure on you. He's very professional. Proper sportsman. He's my boy. And his temperament's okay. Now, I've made it, if you look at job preferences, this is once he's retired. So even though he's a young lad, I've set it there to make sure on the maximum or manager, he'd want to be a manager when he retires. So again, that's totally up to you. You could, if you want to build yourself a squad of you and your mates, you can also, and you really know you're going to put years into it, that team could grow, win you loads of titles, and when they all retire, become your staff if you put the planning in. But again, just go through everything. Make sure you check everything. You can set a player's retirement if you'd want to. I don't know why. Languages, again, it says like anything else on here, you just got to add. So his default language is English because he's English. But if I want him to speak other languages, I'll just add him. So let's just, I don't know, let's go for German, for instance. So if we've got a name, type in German. You'll see it come up there. We'll select it again, press OK. And you can now speak fluent German. And again, you can change it. You can even make sure you can't speak a language if you want. Days at club, let's ignore that. Go on to career plans. Now, this again, you can add lots of things. So if we go to add here, wants to be, doesn't want to be, has knowledge of, doesn't have knowledge of. Again, this is for staff as well. So when you're making a player or staff or anything, it's very similar. Just go for every tab and just be specific with what the person is. So he's a player. So if I put he wants to be a player at Denton Town. Now you can put in competition, nation, all that. You don't need to have selected the club. Just select one or the other, because I could also put wants to be a player in the Bundesliga. And even though I've selected Denton, there's a good chance he'll stay there and he'll be loyal, but he might want to leave eventually. And if you don't want him to go, I think it's Matt Hummels. If you go on him in the editor, he don't want to play anywhere else but Germany. So you could just keep going to add and select doesn't want to be a player. Go to nation, Germany. Doesn't want to be a player, Italy. Don't want to be a player, Spain. Don't want to be a player, France. And he won't want to leave to any of them big leagues. Next, we're on to player data and the general tab. And again, shirt name, you can put anything you want on there. So if they've got a nickname, you can do it. Not that you really see it. Now, the abilities. So you can do a few things with this. You can give him a current ability instantly. So we could go for 150. And say his potential ability, I think Ronaldo, Messi are like in the late 199s, 198. So just for example, let's go for him being the next Messi. There we go, right. And that's set there. He'll start off around 150. And even if he didn't touch anything else, the computer will kind of flesh it out depending on what position we pick for him, really. Or you can click that, right, and give yourself a different kind of range depending on what you want. So I can make him that, but that means he'll only be in around that range and won't always get up to near the top. Or you can select, I mean, a lot of these are Premier League level. Again, it's totally up to you what kind of player you want to make. So you can either go that manually or select that. I'm going to deselect that though. Current reputation. So you can give them a maxed out rep. So again, like a lot of things, if you don't know what the max is, because they do differ, just whack in a load of numbers like that. And when you click off it, it'll just switch to its maximum. So that means everyone in the world knows who he is. So if you don't want that, you want to build a rep, and you don't want big clubs coming in straight away, keep it quite low. So if we go for 50, that's all right. You can do the same with the home. You can do the same with the world. Again, it's totally up to you. Now, height. I always struggle with this. I always can't remember how it works, to be fair, because in-game I use feet. On here, it's all in 100s and so on. So what I'd say is, if you know what kind of player you want him to be, say height and size, go to database, go down to people, find a player that you want. So let's just, for example, again, use Ronaldo, for example. All right, so if I click on Ronaldo, and if we go down to his general tab on player, you'll see his height is 187.84. If I want it to look like Ronaldo height and weight-wise, just copy that. So I want it to be good with his feet. Again, this is just specifics. It's just a tutorial. So if I pick 20 on out both, he's naturally left and naturally right. And you can differ that. You can make him very good on his left and excellent on his right, or crap on his left foot. Totally up to you. Has a work permit if you're making a foreigner. But again, if we go down, trained in nation, now that shouldn't matter. But again, you can add it if you want to, because he's English, he's an English club, that won't matter. But you can add to it if you want. So you just can go to add, select the nation, and then it might help you if you're building a club that's going to go and play continental football. But again, I'm going to leave that clear for now. Next, we're on to positions, and I want to make him a striker. So if I go straight to striker there, and I make it 20. Now, if I click off it, straight away at the top, it's made him a striker. He's a target man poacher. If I go to that, I can kind of pick what kind of striker I want him to be. Because a lot of this, say if I make him, let's make him a complete forward, for example. Now I could kind of leave that now, and the game will flesh him out. But you can obviously be more specific with your attributes, but that's what I'm going for. Now if I want him to also be able to cover behind, if I press 20 on attacking midfield central, it'll be natural in both. And then if you go down to 15, that's when the green starts getting darker, and it might go to orange and it goes to red. Depends on what kind of level. So if I put 5 there, he can sort of cover. I'm having him as a natural striker, but that's when you can make a player that can play on the left, on the right. Just make sure you're selecting left 20, right 20. If you want a right back who can go right down the left, put 20 on left back, 20 on wing left back, 20 on midfielder left. You can put 20 on attacking left, and that player would suit you there. So you can really mould him to what you want him to be. So the next thing I'm going to go down to is current ability dependent attributes. Now it says you need 17 to be filled, and only 2 are filled so far. So like I said, you can be more specific with this. You can pump in loads if you want, or you could just leave it to be natural. But I'm just going to fill out a couple. For example, I'm going to give him 20 finishing. What else shall I give him? What else shall movement? Because some of these are hidden. So you're going to get to see all the attributes you normally see in game, but there's a lot of hidden ones, to be fair. So they're good ones to look out for. But like I say, always go through it, depending on the position and the player, and double check everything. I'm going to give him some vision. Don't always have to go 20. This is just an example. Next, if I go down to mental, this is where you get some of the hidden ones like concentration, consistency. That's a good one. Let's give him that. Why not? Composure, always good for a striker. Why not? That's a good one. Teamwork, why not? There we go. I'm not going to get too giddy, like I say, it takes forever. Now, important matches, that's a good one. Big time finals, we want him scoring goals. Next, physical attributes. If I want to make him super fast. This doesn't always work out, He might not have 20 in all of these. Sometimes it'll chip it off a bit. I have a go with one player, turn the game on, see how he's developed, tweak it. Things like this, when it comes to the editor, it's going to take you a lot of time to learn, develop, a bit of trial and error. Natural fitness is a good one. Likely to have a long career if he stays fit. I'll leave it there. On to technical attributes. Again, you've got a lot here. Technique. Let's go for another one. Why not? And again, just go through it. I'll decide what you want. Goalkeeping attributes. Obviously, we're not making a goalkeeper, but this is where, if we were, you'd fill his out. Next one to preferred moves. And again, this is a good one. You can give him 4, I think, in game. They usually have 4 max. So I'm just going to give him, shoots with power, places shots to start off with. But again, tailor it around the play you're making. Next, move down to relationships. So this way you can add things to add a bit more depth. So, if you're making your friends in game, or you're making a play and you want to be best mates with a player on the team you support, say you've got a superstar striker and you want to be busy mates, go on here, go to add. So obviously I've already selected Ronaldo plays for Denton Town. If you see me create a club, he's the one player I put there. Now, you can do a lot here. You can put a father in, you can put your son in, a relation. If you've got your mum on, like on Same Valley, my wife's on it and my boys are on it, so they're there. You can have an idol, you can have a friend. So basically, I'm going to select Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo's already at Denton, now play together. They're going to be a killer strike force, maximum level. I've selected friend and I've selected to be permanent, so they won't fall out. But make sure it's not a one-way street. Click on Ronaldo or whoever you've selected. Go down to his favourite people and make sure you click add. Find that new blank tab and select your player. And then obviously make sure, change it to friend, permanent, Bezzy mates now. Next is dislike people. If you want to hate someone, that's a good one. Favourite clubs. Again, this is good. So I'm going to go to add. Click down here, Denton Town. He's a supporter of Denton Town. So, you know, it helps maybe keep him there. He's a fan. He loves the club. One of his best mates is there. So this is little details you can add to it. You can add a few if you want. You can have a supporter, or you could have it as a player, as a backroom staff. Again, they're things you do if you're making staff. And then dislike clubs. So if you want to hate a club that are never going to go and want to go and play there. So for example, obviously I'm a Manchester United fan. So if we look for City. So once I've selected him, put the level up to 100, he'll dislike Man City. He'll never want to go and play there, which helps because they always want your superstars. Onto playing history, and similar to create a club, you can add a fake history if you want. I've done this on my story videos when I've got a youth player and you want to add a youth history like we could here with Fletcher. Obviously, he's going to be ready for the first team, but he's a young lad. But if I add this here, and for example, the 2020 season that's the last season. Was it 2019? Whatever it is, work it out yourself. And then you can go to club, select them. You can put a youth division on, or you can leave it and you can put in all his appearances, for example. So maybe he played 25 games for the youth team last year, scored, 22 goals. You can add the transfer fees, all that stuff. So you can make a fake history. Again, just go to add. Make sure you check everything. Always. So here we are now on the squad for Denton Town. Of course, I did Cristiano Ronaldo in a previous video. They both want number 7. That's interesting. I might have to change that. But there you go. There he is. Now, obviously, we don't know how he's going to flesh out. The computer will squish things around. We'll have a look at that later. But that's basically what I do to create a player. And again, it's be totally specific to the kind of player, the kind of level, what you want to do. Just go through what I've done, but make sure you check every tab. Now go back to database, go to people again. Just go to add like we did before. Now we're going to make a chairman. So click non-player. You get the same page pretty much. It is the same page. It will pre-select that for you because we've already done that. Again, get down his unique ID if you want to add a picture to him later. I'll fill this out and get back to you. So we've made Bob Smith. Obviously, he's a player. I've put all his details in. You'll never really, none of that really matters, but I do it anyway because you're never going to see him apart from, you're never going to see him. They're not on a football pitch. Select his date of birth and where he's from. Next, obviously, go to club contract. Again, like you did with a player, search. If you already made your team and you've already been looking at it, they will be on that menu there, which makes it a lot easier. Now, just put him as a coach straight away. We don't want that. You can have him as an owner. We're going to have him as a chairman. You don't need to fill out this bit. You really don't need to do the contract because it don't matter. We don't actually have a contract. You can't look at his profile anyway. So all that, leave. Again, like a player, if you go to attributes, you can fill out some of the attributes. Some of them I won't say really matter. Job preferences, again, I'll make sure you double check that. I've made sure he wants to be a chairman. Languages, again, you can do that. Do you really need to? I don't think. Career plans, you can add there as well, like a player. Club vision. This is something, if you want your chairman to be focused on what you want, you can do as well, because it's what, if he wants to create young players or buy superstars, depending on what kind of chairman you're making, you can add it here as well. So I'm just going to add, become the biggest club in the world. Why not? So make sure you go to importance. And like I always say, I think it's 10, but if you don't know what it is, put in some random number and it will automatically change it to its maximum. And then I've left it like that. So he wants them to become the best club in the world. Next up, non-player data. Go on the general tab. Again, you can't see the profile, but I give them a great ability, so they are a great chairman, hopefully. It says recommended ability, job role, manager. Ignore that for now. Go down to tactical attributes. Again, does this? I don't think this matters when you're making a chairman. This is something that matters when you're making coaches. Non-tactical attributes. Now, this can matter. If you want to make your guy rich or you want him to be sound, you can do a lot. Now, you can have a chairman that wants to buy players, make sure he's good at that if you want. The two things I always look at, especially if I'm making someone good, or the three things maybe, is business. So they're good at business, running the club, good at negotiating because they do have to make some deals themselves, don't they? And then resources. If I put that on 20, he should have some money behind him. Tendencies. Now this again, you can do a lot with this. So say like, especially for a chairman, maybe we select hire young managers and again, max that out. It'll change it for you, whatever you put in to its maximum. And then again, this is one of them specific things. Whatever you're making, all I'll say is with the editor, people look at it and go, just, I know it takes time, just make sure you go for everything. So all these don't actually tie in with being a chairman, but some of them do. Some of them tie in with being a player. Some of them might tie in with being a manager. Look how you want them to look. Just look what's specific to what you're making and make a decision off that. Down to relationships, you can put if you've made your superstar player, you can make your chairman love you, which is great. You can make him dislike people like a player. Favourite clubs, so obviously we can make him a Denton Town fan. He owns them, so he loves them. Dislike clubs, again, you can add there. Playing history, it's a chairman. If we go back to the club and we go to the board section of staff and players, you'll see we now have a chairman. Bob Smith, awesome chairman, who's rich. So we're set up there. But again, now, if you want to create your staff, it's pretty much the same. It is pretty much the same. Back to database, back to people on the left, over to add, and again, non-player. Just the same as the chairman, fill it out, decide what you want, depending on who it is. If you want to give them other nationalities, you can do. Don't forget club contracts or whatever you're making, make sure you're putting them at the club. Don't forget to do that. If you're making a coach and you want to be on the England staff, you can do that. Just add nation and select coach or physio or anything you want. Attributes, the same. Now, maybe this is where I would fill a bit more of this out, especially if you want your staff to be loyal and professional. I'd do that. Make sure whatever you're making marries up with this. So if you're making a coach, make sure he wants to be a coach, an assistant, a goalkeeping coach, you know, work your way through it. I've done that in the past, so I've made my own staff for different things on YouTube, and I've made sure I've got an assistant, a coach, a fitness coach, goalkeeping coaches, and make sure they want to be that. Career plans, again, add that if you want to add that for your staff. It's a good thing to do, really, to try and keep them at the club. I know I'm running through this bit, but I think I've shown you it with the chairman. Obviously, things change. But again, if you want to give your coaches great ability, just fill out current ability and potential ability, max them out. Or if you want to make them young, go and with potential, keep that low and put that high. Tactical attributes. If you've got an assistant and you want them to, or your coaches, you want them to marry up to what you want to know. But a lot of this is important, like tactical knowledge, especially for an assistant. And again, depending on if you're making a coach or a physio or a scout, this is where you just need to be specific. I don't need to make each individual role because it's the same. You've just got to think about what you're making and go with that. If we go to non-tactical attributes, again, this is a good one. So say if I'm making an attacking coach, I'd give him high attacking. Defending coach, high defending. If I'm making a goalkeeping coach, I'd do that. If you want to train them hard, make sure you select that. Again, check every tab, like a director of football, you know, judging staff ability. Just be specific to what you want it to be. It is easier than you think. Down at the bottom, physio, make sure you max out for physio, sports scientist. It really is easy. Back to tendencies, and again, this really is something you could go specific with, especially with coaches or your assistant. Say like your assistant, maybe you holiday a few games, I don't know. You want to use a subs, or you want to do specific things depending on what you're making. Just make sure though, when you do add them to a club, so for example, I'll go back to Denton, this is on the contract section, you're selecting what you want to be. So obviously if what is a goalkeeping coach, make him a goalkeeping coach, and then when you go through his stats, make sure he wants to be one and he's got the attributes to be one. But look how many you can do. You can do anything you want, all the reserves, you can make anything for every level. It goes on and on and on. Every role on a staff is here. Even the player versions, player coaches, player physios, player freaking performance analysts for the under 18s. You can really go to town. And again, like I did with the chairman and the player, you can pick favourite people, dislike people, favourite clubs. So if you want them to love the club and I'll be in it with you to win it, make sure you're selecting all that. Now, of course, we've built a club, Denton Town, in the Create Club video. I think I've run through the basics of that. I mean, it is pretty simple creating players, I think, and staff. Just make sure you go for every tab, like I keep saying. Now, I want some media for the club. So what I'm going to do is go down and just find media. Go to add at the bottom and you get a new page. Now, this is quite cool, I think. And we're just you can do as much as you want with this. but we're going to keep it quite simple. You can have national media, club media. So we're going to have club media. Style, you can have a tabloid paper, broadsheet. I'm going to go for, let's go for popular. Why not? Now types, if you click add here, it could be a newspaper, magazine, a fan magazine, a radio station, social media. You can, honestly, you can have a lot of fun, especially when it comes to a custom club. So we're going to have our own radio show. So I've just called it Town Radio. I'm not going to bother with that. I'm not going to bother with a hashtag for it. Now, it just be any time. You can have it as a weekday morning. You can have it as a Sunday morning paper or Sunday morning radio show. How much this really matters, I don't know. But I just think it's a nice touch when you create a club to have your own media. Next, go on to areas covered. So you can cover a continent, a nation, a local region. We want to just have it tied to the club. But again, this is specific to what you're making. So if I click there and click Denton Town, that radio station is just for us. Now, if we go back to the main page on database and people, again, like we've done in the past with everything else, got to add. This time, click journalist, and you will get a brand new page like this. And you can make a journalist. So you can fill out his name, give it whatever you want. Journalist, give him, this doesn't matter, but I fill it out anyway. Date of birth. None of that really matters, really, because you never see it. But you can fill it out. You can give him some international data if you want to make him an ex-international. So say you want to make Rio Ferdinand, for example, you could do that. Onto his attributes, again, you can fill that out if you want. It's the journalist data where I think it can be quite fun. So you can give him a current employer, search Town Radio, having worked for Town Radio. You can have him as a factual journalist, someone who makes stuff up, boring, someone who's flamboyant, experienced, cunning, nice. And all this might be cool, really, when you're in them boring ass interviews, because they are quite boring on the game. But again, this is just a nice little touch. You can even make him a fan of the team, so he might be more passionate. I just think this is a cool little thing, especially when you're making your own team. Now, it's not in the title, but I did mention it earlier. Let's quickly look at it. People, add, agent. This is quite a cool thing, especially if you're making a lot of your own players. Again, just fill out his name and his details. A lot of that, again, doesn't matter. What does matter is his agent data. You can have the nation he's based in. So he might be French, but he's based in England. His scope for players could be worldwide. I'll keep it at national. But you can have him as a patient agent. You can have him a good businessman. You can have him someone who wants loads of players, or maybe he just wants you. You can have someone who's going to tout your players out there, or someone who's super loyal and won't and try and get the best deal for him. And then if you want, you just go to add, search for your player or any of the players you've made or any real players and find them, and they'll be on his list. So here we are in Denton Town again, the team I created in that previous Create a Club video. And let's take a quick look at Fletcher. So as you can see, I give him 20 on a lot of things, but the game, because I left it open-ended, I didn't go fully into it. And again, this is up to you. A bit of trial and error, honestly. It's the best way to do it. If you max everything out, it doesn't always work. It'll change things for you. I mean, it's still giving him key things that I've given him, but pumped him down to about 17. But he is only 17. He's got a lot of ability, and he could definitely improve. I mean, his player traits are there that I picked. He can use both his feet. But again, once you get into it, you got to practice with it. Personally, I like to just give them base potential with their future potential, and let the computer just decide. And it's a lot more fun that way. But again, if you want to be more specific, have a go. If you don't like it, go back into the editor, have a tweak, have a change. Obviously, he hasn't got a face because he's created, so you won't get a regen face. But that is something you can add, and that is something I will do in a future video. But if we go over to his information here, you'll see best mates with Ronaldo, love it. He's a Denton Town supporter, so these little details you put in really help. Now, we didn't obviously make an agent. They will get an agent. He's got obviously a generic regen agent, but yeah, it's easier than you think. And again, we didn't create the coaches. I taught you through it, and it would take forever to do every individual role at a club, but it is the same. Just make sure you've just been specific to the role you're doing and check every tab, like I said. Hopefully, I showed you enough information to do that. We did create a chairman, no Bob Smith. You can't look at him, but we all know what Bob's like. So there we go, that is the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully I've given you enough tips. I'd like to show you more completely in depth and make a character for every role, but that'd be about a 3-hour video. It is the same thing. Just follow what I've said, check every tab and have some fun. It's a bit of trial and error. The editor is not something you're going to jump into, make it and be perfect, especially if you're new to it. It's something you've got to learn, practice, but hopefully these videos are helping, and that's what they're all about. I want you to have fun, and Football Manager is all about having fun. So if you did enjoy it and it's helpful, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you're new. Make sure you go and check out all my other content, my Let's Plays and my rebuilds. That would be massively appreciated. So would anyone who wants to become a patron. You find a link to that and everything else down below. Hope you're happy, hope you're safe. I'm Bood. I'll see you in the next one.